Thanks, Ian, for letting me in.
Yep, thanks for sitting in the waiting room, everybody. We'll get started in a few minutes, give everybody a chance to find that Zoom link. I'm going to mute everyone. That way we can make sure that our presenters tonight can present clearly. Just make sure there's no background noise.
And I just disabled the waiting room, so it means that anyone else who comes now will just come straight in.
Oh, I had to wait.
Sometimes it doesn't pay to show up early.
I thought I'd never hear that.
And I just muted everyone behind, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Thanks everybody for patiently waiting. We'll wait a few more minutes again to make sure everybody gets a chance to find that Zoom link. I know I've struggled with it myself in the past. Okay, we'll get started shortly. For all those who are still trying to get in here, all they're just gonna miss is hearing my voice for a couple minutes. So they might be better off than the rest of you guys. So I apologize for that. All right, so we're about 5 minutes after. I want to respect everybody's time. So we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. For those who have just joined us for the first time, welcome. We're really excited to have you, all the first timers, and for all those who have returned. Thank you for continuing to support A2NewTech. I'm your host, Hein Lam. I co-own Huck Finch, a branding studio based here in Ipsy. As I said, for all those first timers, welcome. Thank you for joining our little monthly meetup. And for all those who continue to support us, thank you for supporting the meetup. And I hope all you are safe and sound during all these crazy times. Would love to maybe jump in first with a poll to kind of see who's all here. So David is going to share it. Please feel free to answer, and we'll take a look at this poll shortly. All right. So about 20% are entrepreneurs currently. Awesome. Those looking to start a venture. That's really cool. This is a great place to kind of gather some ideas. Got some investors in the house, some marketing, no designers, some software developers, and some others. Would love to kind of see in the chat like what other is. So that'd be interesting to see. And again, the reason why we love to kind of share this poll is, we really want this meetup to be an opportunity for those to connect with each other, whether you're a founder already, looking for a co-founder, or thinking about starting a venture, and talking to others who maybe might be in the same space. This is what this is really great for. We'll have some breakout sessions afterwards for you to get together and talk to each other, get to know each other better. Another great way to connect with those in the community is through our Slack group, which I'm going to share with everybody in Zoom. The link is madeinA2.com/Slack. This is our Slack group where people share general announcements, mention anything about jobs, just questions. A great supporter recently today, actually Brian Hayden, just shared an opportunity for internships through the University of Michigan, and a bunch of people signed up. So it's a really great spot for resources and to have conversations. So if you're not a part of the Slack group, please join. It'd be really great. And while you all are here to hear pitches, I want to just quickly go through some thanks to show thank you for all those who support A2NewTech and keep it running. Starting with A2 Geeks, Roger Rails, David Nesbitt, who is helping me to co-host and continue to support me to make sure I look good, which is really hard. Our co-organizers, the Entrepreneurship Clinic at U of M's Law School, and Ann Arbor Spark. So a quick rundown of how things are going to work. We were supposed to have 3 pitches tonight, but I don't see our third pitch. Probably something came up. So hopefully everything's okay with them. So we'll have two pitches, 2 great ones, and 5 minutes a pop. And then after that, we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A. During the Q&A, feel free to type in your question into the chat. The pitcher will take a look at them and answer them. After those 5 minutes, if there are any questions that haven't been answered yet, they'll go ahead and type in their response to those. So, so do feel free to ask your questions. We'll round things out with some community announcements. You can feel free to type into the chat your community announcements. We'll post those up onto the meetup. And so take some time to think about what your community announcement is now. If you're looking for a co-founder, for example, or if it's some event or you have a meetup that you want to share, those are some great ones, and there are a lot of other ones out there. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have that breakout session that will be kind of randomized. So you'll be put in a group with folks, and you'll get the chance to network and chat. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start to hand things over to our presenters. And just to kind of give a quick overview of who we have Pyogenix. It's a medical diagnostic startup working to combat antibiotic resistance by providing real-time pathogen diagnosis. And Breeze Bubble, a smart mask with a micro cooling fan technology to provide a comfortable and easy breathing solution for people living in polluted air environments. And if for some reason we get our third pitch in, it's a Good Night, a novel device to address nightmare disorder in PTSD patients. So with that said, I'm going to hand things off to Vishu Asthana with Pyogenix, and he will share his screen and start his pitch.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Give us 1 second. All right, can you guys all see that?
We can.
All right, very good. All right, thanks everybody for coming by. Sorry, let me move this over. So hi everyone, my name is Vishu and this is Pallavi, and we are the founders of Pyogenix, a company hoping to revolutionize pathogen detection. Right. So just a little bit about us. So we were founded very recently. We were founded in 2020, actually just a few months ago. We're based here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And our mission is to identify any clinically relevant bacterial pathogen in under an hour and for less than $1 per sample in order to promote antibiotic stewardship and prevent the development of antibiotic resistance. So we have some very promising preliminary data. Unfortunately, we're not at liberty to share it yet, but hopefully one day we can. But with this data, we were actually recently invited to submit a phase 1 small business grant by the NSF.
So in addition to Vishu and I, there's 2 other members on our team. The first is Dr. A2 Asthana, who is our CEO, and he is a PhD and MBA holder with tons of experience in this field. And the other person on our team is William Peacock, Dr. Peacock, and he is an ER physician with expertise in acute medical care, and he's serving on our advisory board. So to give some background on the problem that we're trying to address, currently when a patient comes into the clinic with an infection, the physician often runs a protocol known as culturing in order to determine what the causative agent of that infection is. And typically this process takes anywhere from 24 hours to 7 days, and sometimes more days are required for antibiotic susceptibility testing. So to prevent worsening of the patient's prognosis in that time, broad spectrum antibiotics are usually given. And the problem with broad spectrum antibiotics is that it gives rise to drug resistant bacteria. So currently 2.8 million infections and more than 35,000 deaths occur annually as a result of drug resistant bacteria. So our goal is to mitigate the inappropriate administration of broad spectrum antibiotics by creating a platform that allows physicians to universally and rapidly detect the causative agent of that infection.
Yeah, so as Pallavi mentioned, we're developing what's called the rapid response, or R-squared system, to address this issue. So the R-squared system can identify a bacterial pathogen within a few hours using PCR-based approaches. Without having a priori knowledge of what the infectious organism is, the proposed system can determine both the identity and the concentration of each pathogen in a clinical sample without the need for culturing, and potentially detect as few as a single infectious cell. So the system is intended to be automated and available in-house, requiring minimal oversight during runs. And as a result, lab send-outs are not required, and results will be available to the physician in a few hours. But by providing results before the end of the day, physicians can either quickly transition from broad spectrum to narrow spectrum antibiotics or proceed to targeted narrow spectrum antibiotics immediately. PCR is also incredibly cheap, with primers and reagents for each reaction costing on the order of cents.
So typically for diagnostic technologies in this space, we look at 3 main parameters. The first is cost, the first is speed, I should say, the second is cost, and the third is universality. So compared to other systems that are currently in this space, such as culturing, sequencing, molecular probe hybridization, we see that the R-squared system kind of comes out on top for all 3 parameters. As an example, if we were to look at sequencing, which is kind of the hot topic in this field, it is very universal, but at the cost of being very expensive and requiring a significant number of hours.
Yeah, so our primary market is the healthcare sector, naturally, and our potential buyers include hospitals, clinics, and urgent care facilities, and indirectly all the patients presenting with infection that they serve. So the global infectious disease diagnostic market was recently valued at almost $14 billion in 2016, and is projected to reach almost $20 billion in 2022. So potentially half, if not more, of this market is capturable by focusing on bacterial infections. The other half is viral infections. Our system can't currently detect viral pathogens, but something we're working on. So with that, what we're looking for with this presentation, two things. We're looking for early stage investments in our venture. And the second thing is, we would appreciate any sort of technical or business related feedback that anyone in the audience might have.
So that's sort of our presentation for today. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both for your pitch tonight. Really appreciate it. Looks like we already have an eager person asking a question. We actually have a couple already. So first one's from Mary. Wouldn't the customer be Central Labs?
So I think I understand this question. Yeah. So there's so you can either build a diagnostic system that's in a central lab and the clinical sample is sent out to the central lab for testing, or if the system is small enough, compact enough, it can be actually present in the hospital itself. So our system is intended to be right in the hospital itself. It doesn't require send out. It doesn't require a central lab. Hopefully that answers the question, whoever asked that.
From Mary. So Eric's also asking a question. Can you detect mycoplasma infections?
Yes. So the current data set that we've assessed is approximately 50 pathogens. Mycoplasma is not currently in it, but it is a bacterial infection, and we look at genomic markers. And so mycoplasma has a unique genomic marker that we can also detect.
So the set of bacteria that we look at can continuously expand as new species or new strains are sequenced over time.
And then Robert has a question. Are you partnering with any pharmaceutical companies?
That's a good question. No, unfortunately, or not unfortunately or fortunately, this is actually a solo venture as of the moment. So.
Diane's asking false positives versus false negatives.
That's a great question. So we haven't actually tested in clinical samples yet. Hopefully when we get to that point, we'll have a better idea. But we have some redundancies built in the system to eliminate false negatives, and false positives, we'll have to see when we get to that point.
Another question from Robert. Can you detect any reaction to antibiotics?
Could Robert clarify that question?
Cool. We'll let him do that while we jump to the next question. Experience in running a CIA lab on the team? That's a CLIA.
Okay, sorry, I actually don't know what a CLIA is. So if they could spell that out.
Clinical sample lab.
Yes, so the CEO has extensive experience running a clinical sample lab. He's run one himself, so.
Any labs actually allowed to do the work in the US?
So that question I'm also a little unclear on.
Okay. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Advates. How is this different from gram-negative and positive culture, since this has a high sensitivity and specificity? How sensitive and specific are these tests?
Okay, yeah, so you want to elaborate? Or yeah, I can. So yeah, this was sort of early on in the talk. So the issue with culturing is just that it takes too long. It is specific, sorry, I should say, and somewhat sensitive. Not all organisms grow in culture. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, in addition to addressing all those issues, our system does several other things.
There's an additional component where culturing requires some a priori knowledge to determine optimal growth conditions, and our system doesn't require that because it's a completely, it's hypothesis free, it doesn't require any prior knowledge.
Yeah, and then we don't have the sensitivity and specificity of this test yet because we haven't ran it on clinical samples, but.
Okay, and then, Robert's clarification here. Sometimes antibiotics used on patients can cause reactions. Can you detect those reactions?
So I'm assuming Robert's talking about maybe allergic reaction to antibiotics. This cannot, that's not the intended purpose. If the question is about antibiotic susceptibility, that's a domain that we're working towards, not currently established yet. Yeah, so we're actually sorry, I'm jumping ahead here. Did you want to read out the question?
No, it's about IP and patents.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of IP, we're currently looking to partner with the University of Michigan Tech Transfer Office. And so we're kind of working on a potential patent path with them. But that is still kind of waiting to be determined whether that's the route we go. But as of now, there has been no IP or public disclosure of any of our data, initial data.
Any other questions? Where is the data generated?
So far our data is in silico, and so it's just been done on our own on a computer, so completely unrelated to time. Oh, that is exciting. We've been working with Bryce Pills and Stefan from the tech transfer office. Cool.
All right. Maybe we have time for a couple more questions. Obviously, feel free to continue to type them in. Time to market.
Great question. So our timeline is, we have to collect some in vitro data and then transition to clinical data. We have the partners for that, and we're envisioning that will take about 2 years. And then hopefully by that point, we'll have like a working prototype that we can start to test, and that will be like transitioning to market. So maybe like 2 to 4 years.
Question from Mary.
So currently we're completely self-funded, and so we don't really have any other funding aside from that given by family and friends. But we're hoping to sort of get some funding through the NSF SBIR grant that we've been invited to submit. How much do you need to get to market?
Good question. So yeah, we have the numbers, and we'd be happy to speak with whoever this individual might be with the details. But right now, I think for the phase 1 portion, we're looking at, I think 250K is what's coming to my mind, from what I remember.
Okay, great. Awesome. So again, thank you for your presentation tonight. It sounds really cool. And if you want to quickly, again, just like repeat your ask, just to make sure that everybody got it. And for those who have the resources or abilities to support it, feel free to reach out to them both, and let's help make this come to market.
Yeah. So yeah, just as a reminder, we're looking for early stage investments in our company, and if anyone has any technical or business related feedback, we appreciate that as well.
Awesome. Thank you both again for your for presenting. This sounds really awesome. I think we definitely need it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So we are going to move on to our next pitch with Arohi Jain. I'm sorry if I'm mispronounced your name.
No worries.
Arohi she started Breeze Bubble. And as I mentioned off the top, Breeze Bubble is a smart mask with a micro cooling fan technology to provide a comfortable and easy breathing solution for people living in polluted air environments. So with that, Arohi, feel free to share your screen and jump in.
All right. Thanks so much for the opportunity, Hein. I will just share my screen. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Arohi Jain, the founder of Breeze Bubble. I started working on this idea in October in 2019 when I visited my family back home in India. This was pre-COVID times, but people were still wearing masks to protect themselves from extreme levels of pollution. The problems that I found with the current solutions available in the market at the time were that they were quite restrictive, difficult to breathe through, became quite heated and stuffy, fogged up your glasses, or just weren't that effective. Fast forward to now, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the rest of the world has to mandatorily wear masks. The situation we find ourselves in is very similar. Most of the current masks have a trade-off. The ones that are comfortable, like the cloth mask and the surgical mask, are not very protective, versus the ones that provide high protection, like the N95 mask, are restrictive, tight, and difficult to breathe through. So I created the Breeze Bubble, a smart mask with a micro cooling fan technology to allow people to breathe easier and stay comfortable while being highly protected. My value proposition with this is threefold. First, the soft seal is smooth and provides comfort to the user. It takes the shape of your face to form an airtight seal that prevents any air leakage. I'm using the BFE 95 filters that provide 95% protection against bacteria, particles, etc. And finally, the micro-cooling fan technology creates a constant airflow around a person's nose and mouth, making it more comfortable and breathable. It's fully rechargeable and comes with a USB cable. The mask itself can be washed and reused. Coming to my target market, it's divided into 3 segments. The first is the general consumer, like Bill here, who's an employee and wants to go to work physically and requires a high protection yet comfortable solution to be able to wear it for long hours. The second is segment is to partner up with companies like Marlena here, who's a CEO of a retail company, who would order masks in bulk for her employees and warehouse workers. And the third and final segment is students who are starting school this fall, like Sophie, who's a student at UMich and taking hybrid classes. So I wanted to show you my business model, and there are three aspects that I've highlighted that I want to draw your attention to. The first is the key partners. I'm working with Ann Arbor Spark, who's helping me with different mentors and also with small grants to be able to move this forward. The second is the channels that I will be selling it through. So I'm set to launch the website actually later this week, and then in about 30 to 40 days, I will also be coming out with a Kickstarter campaign, both taking pre-orders. So the distribution channel right now is direct to consumer through the website. And later on, as I get my supply chain set up, I will also be selling it on Amazon for business. And finally, the revenue streams would be that the user would pay a one-time fee for the product itself, and then it could be a subscription model, or the user could buy the inexpensive, cheap filter pack, replaceable filter pack as and when it's needed. So yeah, that was my pitch, and my call to action or ask is, if you know any people you or anyone who's working at a company or school that's planning to open up and they are looking for solutions to bring their employees or students effectively and in a protective way to the workplace, then I would love to connect. And if, in case you have any feedback or comments in general, I would love to connect. So yeah, that was my pitch.
Thanks, Arohi. I look forward to seeing the product and actually getting one myself. With that said, like, do you have a product to kind of demo or show folks to kind of just make sure, just to show it off and see all?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for asking. So I have the product with me. This is the Breeze Bubble. I will wear it and show it to you. So it has these adjustable loops that you can adjust according to your face size. As I mentioned before, the silicone seal is the best part of the design because it's soft, smooth, bendable, and it takes the shape of your face. This micro fan can be popped out, and this is the thing that, I'm not sure if there's too much light, but this is the thing that kind of creates that airflow around a person's nose and mouth, and it filters the air in and out in both directions. So yeah, that's the product, and I will be launching for pre-orders later this week.
Cool. It looks awesome. We have some questions starting here. Mary asked, cost is $25 approximately. What do you plan to charge?
Yeah, sure. So I'm planning to give out two products. One would be without this fan, one is with the fan. So the one that's without the fan is just going to give comfort, and that's more for people who are maybe wearing it for short periods of time. So that will sell for $29.99. And the one with the fan that provides the easy breathing comfort, and that's the more high-tech mask, that will sell for $69.99.
Okay, and then Jeff has a question. What is your manufacturing plan?
So currently I'm getting the supplies from both the US and some of the raw materials from China. I'm assembling it at this point all by myself, but I have been speaking with some of the engineering design firms to be able to set up a better supply chain.
Beth also asked that question, but had a follow-up. With automation, can you reduce the cost?
Yes, definitely. And also with like number of orders. So the raw materials that I'm getting right now, I've ordered 100 pieces to initially assemble. And as I go forward with like 1,000 or 2,000 pieces, that would definitely reduce my cost of goods sold, as well as, the cost of assembly.
Okay, Creed is asking, what environmental considerations have you taken into account? Is the product recyclable after its useful life?
So it's a silicone-based product. It's skin friendly, but it's not like recyclable. The environmental conditions, by that you mean more like sustainability aspect, or like general people wearing it in the environment? Yes. Okay, the sustainable aspect. Okay, so one of the biggest sustainable aspect I would say of it is the size of the filters itself. So as you can see, you can open this, and this is the size of the filter that you need to use. So essentially, like, as most of the disposable masks have a bigger filter on them, so this is a much smaller filter which can be like made and replicated much more easily.
Okay. Beth had another question. What's the performance compared to the N95?
So I'm currently in process of testing with Nelson Labs. The filters that I'm using are certified BFE 95 filters, certified by the American Society of Testing and Materials. The full mask itself still needs to go through the testing, but the way it's designed to take the shape of your face, the silicone material is like, if it creates a airtight seal, then it's supposed to provide the same level of protection.
Okay. Francisco is asking a question. What would you say to people that are hesitant to put something that's electronically charged on their face?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this device is completely protected. All the rechargeable battery is fully inside of it, and the battery is not much higher than the batteries that are put in like the AirPods or a headphone that you would wear. So, and it's also not touching your skin in any way. The fan device is actually a little bit away from your face, so it's completely safe.
Oh, sorry. Is the fan loud? Sorry, I was on mute.
No, the fan is not loud at all. I can also switch it on now. So it's on now, and you guys probably aren't able to hear anything because there's no sound in the fan.
Yeah, couldn't hear anything at all. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Advait, have you tested this product to visualize if bacterial/microbial pathogens would pass through the mask?
Yeah, exactly. So the filters, as I mentioned before, I'm using are BFE 95 certified filters. So that's bacterial filtration efficiency of 95% for any bacteria, viruses, or particles.
David is asking, how does this work for people that wear glasses without having their glasses fog up?
I'm very glad you asked because it works great. So one of the biggest problems with the other masks is that it fogs up your glasses, and this one doesn't because it creates a seal on your face, so it prevents any air from leaking. The only air that comes out is through the filters, and that will not fog up your glasses.
Great. So we probably have time for a couple more questions. So how long does the fan take to recharge? Do you include a charger?
The fan takes about 1 hour to recharge and lasts for 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, and then the last question we have time for right now, it comes from Eric. I think that's how you pronounce it. I apologize. Does this mask prevent tiny microscopic droplets from escaping when users breathe out? Also, would you be willing to sell internationally, or is this primarily for US only?
Yes, for the first question, yes, it filters out the tiny droplets when you breathe out as well as breathe in. I'm currently planning only to sell in the US since international requires a lot of other legal aspects to it that I'm still working through. But yes, like the long-term goal in another 6 to 7 months is to sell internationally as well.
Awesome. And again, that's about the time we have for the live Q&A, but Arohi, feel free to take a look at the questions that have been sent your way and answer them as we kind of wrap things up, since it looks like our third pitch wasn't able to join us tonight, unfortunately. Hopefully everything's okay with him. But with that said, thank you for the pitch and for showing the device.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really exciting to pitch in front of all you guys.
Yeah, and again, real quickly, what were your asks? Just remind everybody.
Yeah, my ask was in case you or anyone you know has any networks with any companies or schools who are planning to open up and require something like this, or they're looking for solutions like protective gear for their employees, please let me know. Or any other feedback in general, I would love to network and chat.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, so if you have the ability to support this really cool product, feel free to reach out to Rohi. Information is available. And we're all looking forward to seeing everybody rocking the breeze bubble soon. All right.
Thank you.
So with that is the end of our pitches. Again, I wish our third one was here. It sounds really cool, but again, hopefully everything is going well with him. So we are now in the community announcements portion. So if you have a meetup that you want to promote, if you're hiring for a position, looking for a co-founder or a collaborator for a project, this is the time to kind of share in the chat. Those, if feel free to type them in there. I'll read them out as best as I can and try to keep up with them. And again, we'll take them and post them up onto the meetup page. I'm sure it's people just taking the time to type things in, but hopefully there are some announcements in here. As I mentioned earlier, there was an announcement from Brian Hayden in our Slack group. There is a group at U of M called Empowered. It's a student entrepreneurship group. They're looking for clients for the fall. So to provide pro bono consulting for looking at with skills like market research, customer discovery, product testing. That's a kind of an ask for Empowered, but feel free to jump into the Slack group as I had mentioned if you are looking for something like that. So we have Francisco who's working on something to help amusement parks, marvelapp.com, converting virtual queue lines into amusement park. And yeah, that sounds cool. I'm not a amusement park guy myself, but I like the idea of making it a fun thing. Other community announcements. UMSI is always soliciting ideas for student projects. And Roger, real quickly, for those who aren't familiar, like myself, what is UMSI? My mind immediately goes to University of Michigan Sports Illustrated, and I feel like that's not correct. U of M School of Information. Clearly, I didn't go there for school. LSNA all the way. And for David, they have a couple courses that do consulting for folks pro bono as well. That's really cool. Jan Bo is launching a cybersecurity software company at Voltara.com, looking for help with software development, JavaScript, TypeScript. Great. Thank you for joining, welcome. And for those who are interested in checking this out or supporting, feel free to reach out. Other announcements? Roger's asking, anyone on there used Tableau Public?
This just comes to mind that I saw, I think it was in the Ann Arbor Chronicle, that A2NewTech 360 is going to go virtual this year, and I think in September instead. So I'm going to post a link to that. This is Ann Arbor Spark has run this event probably with a lot of different help, but I think Ann Arbor Spark's been the key organizer of it for the last handful of years, and where a lot of people will explore downtown Ann Arbor tech companies and Ann Arbor tech companies in general. So recommend checking that out. I don't know yet what kind of they're offering. I just saw that today, but want to make sure people know about that, especially if you're new to the area, because it's a great way to get exposed to companies that are here, what's happening with tech. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, so it's nice to check it out and don't miss that.
Yeah, I double that. Definitely check it out and support it. It's a really awesome program and really does showcase what Ann Arbor and the Washtenaw Area County has to offer, and just the state of Michigan in general. So it's very cool. I don't know if they're gonna do that virtual tech trek. Tech trek was probably one of the best parts of the A2NewTech 360 if you've been a part of it. But maybe if we all rocked Breeze Bubble, we can all do the actual tech trek. All right. Okay, well, with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this month's meetup. So I'll just kind of quickly run through some things, and then we'll do a quick breakout session for everybody to kind of get to know each other and chat. So A2NewTech is always every third Tuesday of the month. Our next one is August 18th. So make sure to sign up for that. If you have an idea to pitch and know somebody who has an awesome like startup that wants to pitch or should be pitching at A2NewTech, have them reach out. I'm going to share my email in the chat here. It's Hein, H-I-E-N, at a2newtech.org. Love to kind of hear from it. And we'll just send you a quick questionnaire to kind of get through and make sure that you are far enough along, much like our pictures tonight, where there's some validation, you're starting to build a prototype, etc. But we'd love to have others pitch and share your ideas and have the community support you. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and taking the time out. Really appreciate it. For those who've been back multiple times, thank you again for continuing to support us. And for new timers, I hope to see you again next month and the month after that and after that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to place everybody into a breakout room, and feel free to just chat and get to know each other. And so we have 34 participants. We're gonna automate this. Here we go. And
Oops. And then we lost whoever the third guy was. I think everybody else left. As I can tell. Yeah, I guess I should go eat the rest of my dinner. See ya.
Hey, Naman, do you want me to move you into room 1? All right, let me try to see if I can do that. How do I do that? Trying to figure this all out. Oh, cool. Yep. Creed's in room 1 now, so if you can get into room 1, then feel free to jump in. All right, man.